Did you know that you can use heat foiling on permanent vinyl? Okay, this is something that I have never tried before, so I'm really excited to show you how to do this. I've been working on a little something fun. I'm not quite ready to tell you about it, but stay tuned. It'll be coming along. But in the process, I've been trying to figure out all of the different kinds of material that you can do with heat foiling. And permanent vinyl is one of them. Holy cow, this is going to be so cool. If you're new here, welcome. If you're back again, welcome back. I'm Christy, designer and silhouette tutor behind Crafty Christy's Creations. So here we go. Okay, check this out. So I did a little heat foiling on this, and I might be a little bit difficult for you to see here. I'm sorry about that. I just did some lines. I'm sure you can see that. And last week I showed you that file that I had with embossing, and then this is a different file that I did with some foiling. So these are all just like geometric single line designs that you can use in obviously multiple different ways. So now that you've seen that, let's jump into Silhouette Studio and get making a new project on some permanent vinyl. Okay, so here we are in Silhouette Studio, and as you can see, I already pulled in a different geometric design, but this is again a single line design here, and we can just get rid of that part. Here's my line, and then we're going to once again throw this over some text just to give it a little bit more interest. Vinyl's fun, but let's step it up a notch, right? Okay, so I'm going to come in with my text tool. You can also just hit T on your keyboard, and let's do some love. I think this is going to be fun. And then let's pick our favorite font. I like this Love Vibes. I will link that below so you can grab this font if you're interested. And with this, when you're doing it, you want to make sure that you're picking a thicker font so you actually have room to throw some lines and designs or whatever pattern that you want inside of it. You want a thicker font so you can actually see what you're adding to it. So this will be a good one. And then I'm going to give this a fill color that's different than what we're seeing on the screen, just to make it a little easier to see where we're going. And then I'm also going to get rid of that line color. And my piece of vinyl here is just about 8 inches. So I want to make sure, 8 inches long. So I want to make sure that I keep that width within that 8-inch area. So I think 6.5-ish, 7, that should be good. Little over 7. And actually, the other thing that you kind of keep in mind too, I'm going to use this gold foil heat foiling. This came in with the foil quill, and this one here, let's use the inch side, is just over 6 inches. So let me keep that in mind. That'll make life a lot easier if we do everything that size. So let's actually shrink this down, and I'm going to be under that 6 inch, so I have a little wiggle room on both sides. So let's actually make this, let's do 5 inches. That'll give us some space on either side. If you're never foiled before and you're using the foil quill, I will leave you a link below in the description for a good tutorial to find for that. And if you're using the Cameo 5 or the Curio 2 or the Portrait 4, you're going to want to use the Silhouette heat pen. And I've got a great setup video and first time use to help you get everything sorted out there. And I will also link that one below. But here we go. Okay, we're at about 5 inches. I like that. You'll see right now when we lay it on here, it's laying on top. And I want to lay those lines on top of my text so I can see where the lines are gonna fall. So I'm gonna, with that text still selected, I'm gonna come up here and I'm gonna send it to the back. Now my lines are in front. So the cool part about this is now you can just take your lines. I'm gonna zoom in here a little bit so we can see better what we're doing. That looks good. Sorry if you can hear the train going on behind me. You know, little hometown feel, right? Okay, let's get these lines, and this is just all very much personal preference as to where you want these lines to sit. And the cool thing about this, these lines are also a vector file, so it's like a SVG vector file, so you can shrink and make them larger if you would like as well. So if you decide you want a lot more lines, you can go ahead and shrink that design down and get a lot more lines. And then you can come over to your to the replicate panel, and then you can just make another copy and do it that way. And the only thing that I, want to caution you is that these like bottom lines, if you turn this sideways, are not gonna line up perfectly. So if you're worried about that, or even here, like they don't line up perfectly. So if I'm going to do it that way, I want to make sure that those lines are where they're overlapping is going to happen not on one of my letters. Okay, do these look busy enough? I think this is gonna look oh so cool. Okay, now normally I would tell you to grab all of this and crop it, and it would crop the lines to the letters, but because we're working with lines instead of fills, it's not going to work out that way. So I have a little trick for you. What we're going to do is come over here and grab our eraser tool, and then at the top you've got this little slider, so you can scale up and down the size of that eraser. Now, the reason I'm erasing lines, because I don't want to end up heat foiling all over like the extra space that's on here. I want to, save my heat foil where I can. So by erasing these lines, I'm not going to have lines of heat foiling outside of this, and then I can save the extra for a different project. So I'm just gonna I'm holding down my right mouse key, and I'm just gonna come all the way around, and I'm just gonna leave anything that's looks like it could be potentially going through one of my letters. I'm gonna leave that there. I can clean up this bottom, and then everything else I'm gonna try to get rid of. Ooh, that one got a little too close. Okay. Now I have my Silhouette Studio set up that once it finishes with one of the tools, it goes back to the arrow key. That's a personal preference. So now if I wanted to clean it up more, like on the top here, I can come in with my eraser again, and I can size that down a lot smaller. And then I'm also gonna zoom in some more here. And then I can come in and get rid of more at the top here. But just be very careful. Sometimes, your hand, or at least my hand, goes wild and likes to go different places. So again, I just unclicked, so let me grab that eraser again. A little bit is fine because we're still going to put a weeding box on there. That looks great. That's close enough. I'm happy with that. And then I am going to come in with my weeding box. That's going to help me to save everything else that I want to save on my vinyl. Like this piece, I'm probably going to get really tiny scraps that, I may or may not. This is a little over 5 inches. This is 8, so I get 3 inches of scraps. To be honest, I'll save that. I mean, if I make like little decals for a phone charger or something, or like little tiny labels, 3 inches is plenty of space to be writing little text. So I will save that. Okay, we have our bounding box here, and that's going to give us our outline to know where to cut. We have our pink lines here, which are the foil, and then the blue, we're going to cut on that. So we've got this all set up. Now I'm using my Cameo 5, and I'm going to be putting this on my electrostatic mat because I want to show you how cool it is to use foil with your electrostatic mat. It's going to blow your mind. So I'm going to go ahead and just zoom back out. I'm going to come over to the page setup. Now here you have to do things a little bit differently. I do need to tell it that I'm using my electrostatic mat. And you'll see I don't get any grid lines when you use that. So I also turn on my show grid. That helps me with my placement. And then I've got my cutting area 12 by 12. Even though I'm using just an 8-inch piece, I'm okay with that. I'm going to grab my design. Oh, the other thing I didn't tell you. Oops, let's zoom in. When you start erasing those lines, now it's going to make them all individual lines. So I'm going to click on one of those lines, and somewhere, here we go, up here at the very top you have this select by color. I'm going to select that. I'm going to grab all of my pink, and I'm going to group that together. So Control+G on the keyboard will group all those together. That just makes it a little bit easier. Make sure nothing's going to move on me. Okay, now we can zoom back out. I'm going to select everything there, and then I'm going to come down towards the bottom. The other thing you're going to notice is that the electrostatic mat, so I keep this red line that's showing here is my cut border. You don't have quite a 12 by 12 cut surface with the electrostatic mat, but that's okay. I'm just going to take this and line up. Oh, I must have the snap to grid on. Yeah, let's turn that off. I don't want to snap to grids or guides. I want to be able to move things around freely. Okay, so now I have my bounding box at the 1-inch mark, so coming in 1 inch, and then at like the 11-inch at the bottom there. Those are great reference points for me when I go to put it on my electrostatic mat, and I'll show you why here momentarily. Okay, we have this all set up. Now I can come over to my send panel, and we're gonna have to go ahead and get things set up on our cutting machine with the heat pen. We'll get that warming up, and then we can set everything else up as that heat pen warms up. So let's jump over to the machine and see what that all looks like. Okay, so over here, I went ahead and pulled out the heat pen. I'm going to use the thicker one this time. I have never used this one. We'll see what this looks like. I think it'll be fun. And I'm just going to go ahead and place it here into carriage 2. And it's just going to stick in there into the housing at the top is where the electricity comes in. Click that into place. And then back to Silhouette Studio. Whoop. Sorry, I am rolling around on the desk here in my chair, back and forth, and I'm running into things. Okay, so you can see here, it told me that the heat pen is detected. I'm going to turn it on now. And then if you come down under carriage 2, you'll see that you get this little doodad here, and that's telling me that it's warming up. So we're going to let that just go ahead and warm up. We'll get things set up on the mat. So let's jump back over to the machine and start setting things up. Rolling back on over. I don't know if you can tell in the video here, but I went ahead and put some grid lines on here. I copied my regular sticky mat and did that, and I can link you a video below that'll kind of show you what I did there. But these lines, and I put it on the underside so it's never going to ruin my material. But remember I said at the 11-inch mark is where I set up, it's going to start the cutting process. So I want this to be over, and I want it to be, you know, I want to be pretty close to that edge. And then I'm going to go ahead and turn on my electricity for the electrostatic mat. So that's going to turn on, and because I'm using a nice flat piece of vinyl, I can do that on this mat and it's going to hold. If I was using a roll of vinyl, I'd have to pull out my normal sticky mat. So that's already kind of holding on there. And then, like I said, I've got this beautiful rose gold foil that we're going to use. And I can come on over here. Again, I'm going to start this a little bit off the mat, so I want to make sure, or off the vinyl, I should say, to make sure it's going to cover the entire area that I need. And this is why I love the electrostatic mat. Okay, check this out. It is already holding that in place. Now, I am still going to tape this because you definitely still have to tape it. Ask me how I know. But I can use this, and I'm going to, cover this entire thing. I know I don't need to. We did, what did we end up doing? 5 inches. So I think I'll cut this around the 6-inch mark. And that should give me plenty of this foil to cover everything that we're doing and not try to waste a lot of this foil. It's hard wasting pretty things, right? It just hurts your heart a little bit. Okay, so I'm gonna just let that electricity on the mat try to straighten this out. You saw that this came off of a roll. So, but it's so thin that you can just kind of press out those wrinkles. This is probably the only material that doesn't have to be completely flat, and it'll still work, and this mat will hold it. Okay, that looks good. Now I'm coming in with some masking tape. Masking tape, washi tape. The Silhouette pen comes with some tape in there. And I'm going to tape all 4 corners. The other part that I love about this mat is that I can put this tape right on the sticky mat, and it's not a big deal. The foil also isn't going to ruin this mat like it does your sticky mat. So, the more and more I've been using this electrostatic mat, the more I fall in love with it. So, if you're thinking about upgrading, do it. It's worth it. Obviously, if you're not going to use it and you don't do a lot of paper crafting and you're using more rolls of things, the electrostatic mat is not going to work for you. These things have to be flat. But if you're a paper crafter or you're using a lot of flat flat pieces of vinyl or flat heat transfer vinyl that's not on a roll, then you are going to love this electrostatic mat. Okay, so that's all taped down. Everything is set up here and looks good. Let's go back into Silhouette Studio and finish setting that up over there. Okay, you can see on my mat, or on the screen here, that this temperature gauge is completely red, and it's telling me that the heat pen is ready. So now we can go ahead and finish getting everything set up. So the material for carriage 1, which is where we're going to do the cutting, I'm going to get the Silhouette vinyl Orcal 651 setting. That is the vinyl that I'm using, but I like to turn that blade depth up to 2. I leave it at a force of 10, speed of 5, 1 pass. Now for carriage 2, I have created a user-defined material already. And again, that video that I was talking about setting it up with the Cameo 5 will walk you through this process of creating your own user-defined material. So again, I will link that video. I'll show it up here and then I'll link it below in the description so you can check it out. But I've got this one here, the cardstock 80-pound heat pen. I have found that with the permanent vinyl and with cardstock, I can use the same settings, which is really cool. So I've got that set up. We're gonna auto foil. We've got the heat pen because it's got the little detection piece on it like the auto blade does. It already knows that it's in there. And then now all I have to do, I wanna go to, we're gonna do everything by a line color instead of by simple. Duh. Okay, I have up top here is that pink, and I want to do that first. So I'm going to use carriage 2. Can I pull this over? No. And it's already set up auto foiling. That looks great. Oh, except I have to change the material back to the material I was saying we were using. There we go. Okay, now we have settings for that. I'm going to uncheck the red line, which is this outer weeding box, and then I'm unchecking the no line, which would be our blue letters. But we can go ahead, we have those set up with the material that we want on blade 2, but I just want to make sure we can go ahead and turn that up. Let's see what this one, turn that up. So those are going to be ready for us, but we want to foil, remove the foil, and then come and cut. You could add a pause to give yourself time to do that. I just like to do one thing at a time. I sometimes worry that the pause isn't going to work, so this is how I do it. Add the pause if you're comfortable with that. Okay, everything's set up. We're only doing the foiling. And now all I have to do is load in the material and then we can hit send. So let's head back to the machine. Okay, we've got it all set up and now we're just gonna load it in. Okay, it's loaded in. I'm just gonna go ahead and hit send. And now all it's gonna do is our heat foiling. So I'm really excited to see what it is going to look like with this sticker pen. The sticker that I showed you earlier that I put on my water container was with the thin ones. I'm really excited to see how these sticker lines look, and I think it's going to look really nice actually. So it's going to go through here and just go through all of those lines and get those heated up for us. And like I said, I use the speed of 1 because I want to make sure that the heat pen has plenty of time to go over those lines and have contact with the foil to really press that foil into the material. And I do that for any material that I'm using. I'm always going to do a speed of 1 just to give it time to make sure that the heat reaction happens. So I'm not going to make you want to do all this. I'm going to go ahead and pause and we'll come back when it's done foiling. Okay, it is all done foiling. Ooh, it looks like this corner got pinched and I didn't quite have it all the way to the edge. Shucks-a-mundo, I put too much on this side. Well, you know, nothing's ever perfect, right? But let's go ahead and now because we did everything on the bottom half here, I don't have to unload my mat, which is really good because then when you don't have to unload your mat, that means you're going to make sure it's going to cut in the right place because, you know, sometimes we don't always load things perfectly right back in the same place. You can see as I'm peeling off some of the tape, even this like protective mat on the ES mat wants to lift up. That's okay. as soon as we're done, we can give it a little bit more time to just get that static electricity going again, so that way it'll all stick down. Now, what I can do, I've got some extra here. I could cut this heat foil and save this chunk here for another project. Are you ready for the reveal? I'm so excited. Look how beautiful that looks. And it looks like we only missed like one line here and like a little bit coming across there at the bottom. I'm not sure why some of this didn't foil here. I don't really have an answer. We'll have to see how that goes. But now let's go back to Silhouette Studio and then we can set this to cut. Okay, now all I'm gonna do is I'm going to click off of the pink layer. And now I'm going to tell it I want to cut the red. You can see that this lights up the box around it. That's our weeding box. And then it's going to light up for the no line color is our blue word love. So it's going to go ahead and do that. We like all of our cut settings here. We don't have to do anything else. We're still loaded in, so now all we have to do is hit send, and then it can go and start cutting. So the auto blade is getting in position, and then it's just going to cut our vinyl just like you would normally expect vinyl to cut. Okay, all done cutting. Okay, it's done cutting. I'm done doing everything. I'm going to turn off my electrostatic mat. I'm going to unload it. And then I'm also just going to go ahead and pull that out. I don't like leaving this in there when I don't need it. It only takes 5 minutes to heat up. So it's safer to just take it out. After a little bit of not being used, it will automatically turn itself off. So there's that feature too for safety, but I prefer to just do it this way. And then we've already unloaded. Okay, now let's see how things look. So I'm going to go inside my weeding box and I am going to peel out the extra that's inside that weeding box. And the cool part is it looks like that line that it missed for whatever reason is like right on the edge of that E. So I don't think it really missed much, which is great. OMG! Look how cool that looks! Wow! How beautiful. So now you can see this is why we did that weeding box on there, is because now I can cut, you know, the nice thing about the Oracal is you've got the lines on the back, and then if you hold it up to the light, you can see where like the line is based on like where that open area is, so you don't like cut into your letters and whatever, but then I can just cut that extra off. So that's really cool. So what do you think? Look how gorgeous with all of those beautiful lines, and look at it even like matches my nails. How cool. I haven't decided where this is going yet, but it's gorgeous. So you can also heat foil on permanent vinyl. Now, if you are interested in grabbing this set, I have 6 designs in the bundle. It's called the Geometric Line Art. What did I call it? The Geometric Line Art Bundle. There's the link here below, and I will also drop it in the description box so you can grab that bundle. Again, 6 different designs. Remember, last week I showed you we used one of those designs for our embossing, and then here's another one for heat foiling, and they are just great. You can sketch with them as well. So grab those, and I will see you next week. Bye!